Tonight, the Ballad of Popsicle Sam and Sketchy Joe. Mark that one. Roth Show. I know what you're thinking out there. I can read a million thought bubbles. What about Popsicle Sam? Well, we begin the story arc. Sam grows up in a little faraway fringe town called Fontana. And back in the 60s, when he was growing up, it took about an hour and a half to drive there from Pasadena, and we used to refer to it as Fontucky. Sam has a relatively normal upbringing, the usual mom cries, dad yells. But then something unusual happens, and I'm going along with what I've read on the internet specifically here. I would never dare impugn or infer or even imagine this out loud. But according to Sam, he was abducted by aliens. So that begins his story arc. He's 15 years old. He's out in the park. He's going to go meet the other kids to smoke Marlboros and, hang out with the girls and everything. And I'm assuming it's a flying saucer. Tom, you're technical. I'm not. I'm analog. You're digital. Would it be a beam, a tractor beam? Or would it be a saucer shape? Would Sam get sucked up instantly, or?
I think it would be both. I think there would be a saucer and a tractor beam.
In the 60s?
Yeah.
Would there be a string? The place that we would hang out the most frequently was Bob's Big Boy. Bob's Big Boy. You can look it up on the internet. He'd have the kid in the checkerboard thing with the haircut, and he's holding up the big boy. And you didn't have to think. It was already laid out for you. It's the best after the kegger beer food you can get, and you would get the combo. It would be the Bob's Big Boy cheeseburger, and you wouldn't have to say anything else because the small salad with the Bob's Big Boy blue cheese dressing and the French fries just came with it. Buddhist question, is it the French fry or the salt? There is no answer. More Buddhist question, is it the iceberg lettuce or the Bob's Big Boy blue cheese dressing? There is no answer, and yet the question remains. And that's why I'm going to invoke, this is a question we all know, like one hand clapping. Can we ever know this? We don't know. We may never know. But one thing I do know, when you order the Bob's Big Boy cheeseburger, the salad and the fries just come with. And another thing I know, that when you're abducted by aliens, you get sex probed. Roth Show. I am compelled to solicit this sordid subject in an effort to explain Sam Hagar's conduct. For the last 10 summers, I haven't said a single syllable about him. Not one. I defy you. And in the face of a constant fart gas aimed in our direction here at the Mojo Dojo Diamond Dave Laboratories. And I think we've arrived at both the technical and the medical answer that may explain some of Sammy Hagar's conduct and his constant spew of diarrhea vitriol in our direction. Sammy Hagar was abducted by aliens, and he was sex probed, Tom. Sex probed. I don't know anything about extraterrestrials. I myself am a prober. And yes, back in high school, I know a gal whose parents, and consequently they had no green cards. Her parents actually came across the river. They swam. She was Hispanic. Her name was Eileen, and she was an illegal alien. And after a few hits on the bong, I referred to her and she would giggle as illegal Eileen. That's the closest I get to actual physical contact with aliens. And yes, I probed her many times. Judging from her response and further requests, I sent that girl into outer fucking space. I'm trying to make a connection. I'm trying to empathize. I'm the son of a doctor. I became EMT when I was 50. I feel for it, okay? So the closest thing that I could think of, analogous to what Sam may have experienced, because I have no idea. Talk to me, Tom. You're technical, you're digital. What might an alien sex probing procedure, what's the mechanism of that? What might that, does it require apparatus? Is it a beam? Is it like a sonar? We don't know. We may never know. But what I do know, with absolute accuracy, is that if you take a half of a popsicle and you jam it into a cassette tape player, no matter how carefully you extract it, that tape player will never play the same again. No matter how carefully you try and fix those delicate little parts. And it'll get worse. And it'll seem like the singer that you used to love will stop making sense whatsoever. A lot like Sam.
Roth Show.
Eddie and I did all the songwriting. There's the story of Van Halen. We were the skinny art type guys, all right? A couple of actual nerd types. Al Van Halen was a fucking bully thug. It was great for drums. And he played amazing drums in between beers. Schlitz malt, tall bowl, with the blue and white bowl on the front there. We all drank that. That was the company beer. That stuff's like dynamite with a little napalm and some nuclear waste in it. Have you had any?
I've not had that,
Well,
no.
in your generation, I think they call it kryptonite. That's the actual name on the can. It should be this day. The Schlitz Malt Liquor Bowl was total hood. In fact, we could not get it up in Hollywood or Pasadena. Well, you can get it in Pasadena because we have Altadena, the Golden Ghetto, where Jackie Robinson, the baseball player, came from. All right. And of course, Schlitz Malt Liquor Bowl. But usually this is South Central. This is East LA local, all right? And when Al finally made money, and keep in mind, I'm no particular saint here. I'm a pothead, before breakfast, and then, fuck it, skip breakfast. I'm going to take a sip of my tea. What am I, a fucking athlete? Sidebar, whenever you listen to the news, everything you hear about marijuana today is marijuana today. Intensely more powerful. What are they thinking over there? That's like kryptonite. That's like napalm. Kryptonite, napalm actually sounds like a brand. Watusi Gelato sounds like a flavor. Or was that the chick who sold it to me? Nobody walks into a liquor store and says,
I've never had liquor before. I'm from an Amish enclave. I've never had liquor before. I've always seen it in the television or the movies or so forth. What does alcohol do? Show me.
And the fella behind the counter says,
Great. This is Bacardi 101. You mix it with something called Everclear. Finish half the bottle. Get back to me next Wednesday.
what could possibly go wrong? Everything. Same sentence. Nobody walks into a liquor store for your introductory level visit and says,
I want the most powerful thing you have in the store.
I would recommend if somebody walked in and said,
Hey, I want to see what alcohol does to me. The halo.
Everybody throughout history has experienced this.
What should I start with?
That's simple. The introductory, this is the gateway drug of all time.
Budweiser Shorties.
Budweiser Shorties stay cold.
All the way to the bottom. They love you.
They're easy to drink with a meal because you're done with one at the end of the meal. If you have a large one, isn't a tall 2 beers? Budweiser Shorty. That's what you start with. Drink a half of one. Make sure you're eating something. Make sure you're hydrated, because if you're dehydrated, you get drunk quicker and harder. You always go.
I don't understand. Sometimes I drink 2 beers, and I'm really loaded. And sometimes I drink 2 6-packs, no buzz at all.
Very simple. If you take a thimbleful of alcohol and you dump it in a swimming pool, no result. Take that thimbleful of alcohol and dump it into another half-full thimble. Sounds like a weekend now, doesn't it? I do recommend that you walk boldly where somebody has gone before, namely myself, into the Silver Lake Dispensary, just east of Hollywood. It's east, right? I've been smoking pot, excuse me. And when you get there, ask for something I'm about to invent for you now. Tom, you're from Ohio, right?
I am.
You're exactly from Ohio. Okay, would Costco pot be popular?
I think so.
That'd be a great t-shirt, right? Costco pot, seeds and stems, and nothing but him. I love it. Seeds and stems and only EMs. That's the t-shirt. And it's instead of the 320% that I smoke, the shit that killed Elvis. That should be the title. TSKE. The shit that killed Elvis. That's what I want. That's the shit for me. But not for you. You don't smoke pot. You want
Costco's finest. Red State marijuana. 2%. Sorta. 1%. Kinda.
singers gotta sing. Now that sounds all very, very simple, like wherever you go, there you are. You're not talking about geography. You're talking about your personality, your character, and who you are. And if you're like me and you seek geographic solutions to your social issues, like I just broke up with my girlfriend, I feel miserable, therefore I'll move to New York. Geographic solutions to emotional problems, okay? You can't put bubbles in your stomach when you sing. You have to compress your stomach. So there's no soda pop, there's no beer, there's no 2 beers, and especially no 7 beers. I learned that the hard way. It took me at least 7 lessons, but there you go. You rarely see a singer drinking anything that's effervescent or has bubbles for the single reason that you have to compress your guts in order to sing. And when you really hit the high note, opera style, you exhale before you actually hit that high note, Caruso style. This is a Caruso operatic technique. And Caruso's most famous expression was, first you have to compress your stomach and you tighten your butt muscles. He was a very earthy fella, okay? And he said, one of his most famous quotes is that when I go for my high note, my cheeks are so tight that I could hold an American silver dollar between them. Hand me the coin, Tom. Roth Show. Eddie Van Halen and I, identical balancing act. I am already hyper. Have been my entire life. Have you noticed? Have you noticed? You've really noticed, right? Tom, you can tell me if you noticed. Put it on mute and tell me. Really. When I smoke pot, I get to this pace, which is roughly my version of 33 1/3 for all you boomers who know plastic. If you know the record player, it's 33 1/3. Eddie Van Halen started off regular 33 1/3, and 1,000 times in 50 years, and this was one of the main triggers, he would go, and all of you friends and family that I know you're listening, tell me if I don't get this tonally correct. Dave, I fucking hate my brother. It's why I fucking drink. Dave. And he would rub his forehead and look down. Dave, I fucking hate my brother. Ow. Give me another beer. I swear to God, 1,000 times. And the first 300 times I thought, oh, you fucking sissy. You're just like me. You blame everybody else for personal problems and whatnot. Al drove his brother fucking crazy. He's a big bully. Al weighed about 20 more pounds, drank between 2 and 6 six-packs of Schlitz malt tall liquors a day. At the height of his shit, they had to put in a special industrial refrigerator in the guest house at Eddie's studio. The road manager who was in charge of it at the time kept me posted as we were going. He said, Dave, I had to put in we had 2 regular refrigerators, but I had to bring it in by the case because we were finishing, I don't know, a case and a half a day. She says, I just had to get ahead of time or I'm going to be driving down to Gil Turner's Liquor every fucking day. This is Mulholland. You know the fucking traffic. It's always been bad since the 70s, and it's even worse now. First time he walks into Gil Turner, he says, you have Schlitz malt liquor, Bull? And they laugh because that's Hood. Marilyn Monroe, Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, Brad Pitt go to Gil Turner's Liquor. Okay, like that. You drink Hood? Well, we can order it for you. We'll get a couple of 6-packs. They think you're like he's ordering Tab. Maybe now and then you're going to pass by and buy a 6-pack out of nostalgic reasoning, whatever. No. I need 2 cases every other day. And it has to be delivered up to the guest house. And they maintained that level. Al ended up on the floor in a sleeping bag. I think it was his second wife. Gutted him. I felt so bad for him. All right. And he's up to that level, well, almost the same level of pot that I smoke every day. I smoke my body weight. More than the gross national product of most emerging young African nations, I think is what my business manager, Jerry Leonard, said. Go ahead and get Jerry on the phone there, Tom, if you will. I just received a bill. You're going to laugh at this. The Silver Lake Dispensary over in Silver Lake, which is just east of Hollywood, it's just east of Hollywood, right? Very famous, the Silver Lake Dispensary. The purest, cleanest, most tested, most easy to find, but taxes paid, etc. Okay? Jerry, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, Jerry, we're on the air. I'm talking to Jerry Leonard, my business manager. Without giving away any sensitive numbers, Jerry's been handling five-star bigwigs, all of us on the left-hand side of the Billboard chart. That's a compliment, Jerry. For longer than Taylor Swift has been with us. All right, Jerry.
Yes.
Would you please share with the folks my recent bill for pot coming from the Silver Lake Dispensary?
92. Are you sure you want to hear this?
Please.
$92,000.
Say that one more time.
$92,000.
It still takes my breath away. Thank you, Jerry. We'll see you on the next verification. She's the human lie detector. She keeps me absolutely square biz, okay?
The $92,000 pot bill.
That's got to be a record. That's got to be special. That's got to be a world record special. $92,000. How do we let things go so far? I walked into the dispensary the first time, and I asked them, I want something that's kind of strong. Clearly, I'm a little bit energized. I'm switched on. She says, what do you mean? I says, I want to watch Godfather 1 and Godfather 2 without getting up to pee. Godfather 3 was good, but I think it was a little misunderstood. She says,
That's right over here. And it's called Skywalker OG.
As in, the second Godfather finishes, you look at your watch and go, oh, gee. She says to me, is that all there is? I love Sinatra. I says, no. I have to go home and do some homework. I need something that's the opposite of the Godfather weed.
What do you mean?
Well, I have to rewrite part 2, 3, and 4 of Stairway to Heaven Rhapsody.
On the water.
She sold me that. I haven't slept in years. For 7.5 years. They drop it off. It's a delivery service. It's all above board. It's taxed. I have my business manager say, how much do we owe you? Don't worry. It's on a Post-it note that wound up on a Post-it note that wound up on the screen of the computer that when we upgraded, we lost the Post-it note. But we plan to find it very, very soon. Who becomes a fireman? A kid whose dad is a fireman. Who becomes a doctor? A daughter whose dad's a doctor. And who loses Post-it notes for 7.5 years? Somebody who grows pot. One of the funniest examples of I'm slowing down and Eddie is speeding up was his wedding night. I don't think Valerie knew this, or she might have sensed some of what was going on. But Eddie and I both hated her family. We both hated her family, her brothers, her sisters, the parents, etc. I don't know what Ed told them. And when I went to their wedding party, which is at this giant palatial place where they have after Oscars parties and after Grammy parties, very palatial. If I am accurate, the bathroom for the guests is just in the door and to the left, which was perfect for me because I didn't really want to go in. So I stepped through the door and I turn left and I go, I'm going to smoke a joint before I go in. I go into the bathroom and Eddie's in there doing a bump. and he's wearing a brand new white tuxedo that I paid for him to get. Okay, it's like $7,000. Johnny Versace. I had to get special permission from Johnny, who at that point was an acquaintance. I love David. Yeah. Okay, had to get special permission, like, because they'll make custom clothes if you're a giant basketball player. Okay, it was $7,000 in 1980. What the fuck? All right, it's beautiful. Ed, this is a well photographed event. He's got this beautiful 3-piece tuxedo on, and in those days, and frankly, I do miss him. It's been decades. But in those days, if you did a bump, it made you kind of, and made you sort of gag. And if you had anything in your stomach, you'd do a little spit up, but rock star spit up. And Eddie and I knew the routine. He'd go, come on over here and hold me, which means I get now that I laugh, what a brotherly thing. It means get your arm around my belly. I have to lean over into the toilet and I can't get my jacket in the water. And I would do it like a barber. And I would pull his jacket around behind him, hold it in a tail behind him, get the other hand, EMT style, across his abdomen and go. He would do a bump and lean over. At one point, I let go. He almost hit the water, and we both started giggling like tards. We fucking how ridiculous we looked. And he said, I don't want to fucking go out there, man. Fuck, and you got to go out there. I said, okay, we'll base out of here. Go out there, do your moves. I'll brief security and everything. And every celeb, every musician, there was a basketball player, and I will not name names. There's film folks, etc. Heard from security, you have a choice or both. Anybody of any verve, interest, in color, wound up in the bathroom with us. Until it was so crowded, I sent security out, and somehow he found a blaster from catering, brought it in. Nobody has a tape, so we were listening to KMET, and I'm always directing. We needed to fix the lighting, and this is so palatial. There's a chandelier up there. I see the photo of the basketball player's arm. He was like 7 feet. Undoing the bulbs, and I'm going, one more. No, one more. No, put it back up. There. Eddie Van Halen weren't true to no woman, nobody, and no kind of thing except two of them. A, his guitar, and B, going fast. You gotta hand it to him. He did get to the finish before I did. There's that. Not for 1 second was this crazy brother of another mother true blue to any of his wives or anybody in between except those two things. The phone rings, it's Eddie. I can tell instantly he's not having a good day this week, and I go, what's up?
Bad day at family therapy.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I left a VHS tape in the machine in my bedroom, and Valerie, my wife, found it.
Instantly, I know what he's up to because Eddie and I grew up together. We turned 21 together. What are you talking about? We shared the same girlfriends together. What do you think women in love is about? His girlfriend, which turned into my girlfriend, and my girlfriend, which turned into his girlfriend, ran off together. It was the 70s, a very mighty time. You had to be there.
Yeah, she found the tape. She saw what was on the tape, and I think we're finally getting the divorce.
I know what this crazy schmo is up to. He's putting a magazine down like when Playboy was there and you would wait until your girlfriend, which later might become your fiancé, finds the fucking article, says,
Are you into this?
And you go, why? I will not tell you what is on that tape. I'm not going to betray these kinds of confidences, but I got to tell you, he called me every week for the next 6 weeks, and then exactly 6 weeks later, that woman had taken every material item in her possession, including her son, and moved. Tore my heart out. I felt so bad for Ed. He said to me,
Dave, aren't you?
And I'm going to paraphrase.
Aren't you into, like, colorful things?
And I said to him, I remember I wanted to make him laugh. I said, truth be told, full disclosure, some of my stage clothes, a little iffy. But me, I'm I'm a dyed-in-the-wool retro-hetero. One guy, one girl, one guy, two girls, one guy, two girls in a toaster oven. Hey, I'm old enough to be kinky. No, don't fucking plug it in. As a young bar mitzvah student, we were solemnly taught ancient Hebrew, though we aren't sure, we may never know. I said to Ed in Hebrew and then translated it into English. Edward, my brother from another mother. I don't care who you fuck or how hard. And he laughed. Valerie, she wasn't laughing. In a declaration of some evangelical type 1930s fucking hate, she and her lawyers beat the shit out of that kid. She fucked him out of everything. And I'm gonna tell you, she left him flat and penniless. The great Van Halen had to go borrow $1 million and do the unimaginable. He was compelled. Yes!
He had to call me.